One of the deadliest diseases in human history, smallpox, remains the only disease that has been eradicated so far. In 1796, Dr. Edward Jenner found that the vaccination with the cowpox virus can protect a person from the smallpox infection and created the first ever vaccine, the smallpox vaccine. The creation of the smallpox vaccine had a huge impact on the world both then and now. Smallpox is a contagious disease caused by the variola virus, a member of the orthopox virus family. While the origin of smallpox is unknown, scientists discovered smallpox-like rashes on Egyptian mummies that suggest smallpox has existed for at least 3,000 years. The earliest written description of a disease like smallpox appeared in China in the 4th century CE. Historians trace the spread of smallpox to the growth of civilizations, exploration, and trade routes. Prior to the smallpox vaccine being invented, this disease wiped out entire populations. Almost 4 million Aztecs died, and half of Boston's 10,000 people were infected and 800 of them died in the early 1700s. Overall, about 300 million people have been killed by this disease. The disease caused high fever, aches, and a deep rash. First, the rash would start out as flat red bumps, which over time would rise, blister, and scab, leaving pockmarks. The rash would usually begin in the mouth and throat before spreading to the face and body, and about 30% of the people infected with smallpox died. Before Dr. Edward Jenner created the smallpox vaccine, one of the very first methods for controlling smallpox was variolation. This was the process of which healthy people who had never encountered smallpox were exposed to the smallpox sores by scratching the material from the sores into their arms or inhaling it through their nose. This was first introduced in Europe by Lady Mary Wortley Montagu after she had observed the practice in the Ottoman Empire. Her 5-year-old son was the first English person to be variolated in 1717. After variolation, people usually develop symptoms of smallpox such as a fever and rashes. Yet it was shown that fewer people died from variolation than if they have gotten smallpox naturally. The British surgeon Dr. Edward Jenner was born in 1748 in Berkeley, England. During his early years of school, Edward developed a strong interest in science and nature. He began expressing enjoyment in medicine and health at the age of 13 when he was an apprentice to a surgeon. Dr. Edward Jenner continued to practice medicine. In fact, he was a part of 2 medical groups from the promotion of medical knowledge and wrote many medical papers.
In the 18th century, when smallpox was widespread, Dr. Jenner became fascinated that someone who contracted cowpox could not be infected by smallpox. It is said that Jenner heard a dairymaid say, "I shall never have smallpox, for I have had cowpox. I shall never have an ugly, pockmarked face." It was a belief that dairymaids were in some way protected from smallpox. Questioning this, Jenner concluded that cowpox could not only protect people from smallpox, but also could be transmitted from one person to another. In May 1796, Edward Jenner found a young dairymaid, Sarah Nelms, who had fresh cowpox lesions on her hands and arms. On May 14, 1796, using the matter from Sarah Nelms' lesions, he inoculated an 8-year-old boy named James Phillips. The boy developed a mild fever and discomfort in his upper body. 9 days after the procedure, he felt cold and had lost his appetite, but on the next day, he began to make a recovery. In July 1796, Jenner vaccinated the boy again, this time with matter from a fresh smallpox lesion. No disease developed, and Jenner concluded that protection was complete. Phipps remained in perfect health and became the first person ever to be vaccinated. Life began to increase rapidly, and many other life-changing vaccines were formed after the development of the smallpox vaccine. And with the success of the vaccine and increasing political stability, a new world began to open. At first, not everyone was on board with Jenner and his vaccine. Rumors started saying that it would turn people into cows. However, through testing, it was shown that it effectively protects against smallpox. Even George Washington was for the smallpox vaccine. In fact, George Washington wrote to Lieutenant Colonel David Greer on March 12, 1777, instructing Greer to send new soldiers to Philadelphia so they could receive the smallpox vaccine. The vaccine was soon shipped and used in other continents, and vaccination programs were established. The General Vaccine Institution tried making the vaccine affordable and available for everyone by making the vaccine only $10.
To the source of smallpox vaccine. Cattle are subject to a weakened form of smallpox called cowpox. Large quantities of vaccine are produced by infecting healthy calves like this one with live cowpox virus. The virus multiplies rapidly, and by the 5th day, crusts have formed on the skin wherever the calf was infected. These crusts are collected. They contain the live germs, which will serve as vaccine for human beings. Glycerin is added as a preservative and to provide a vaccine in fluid form. From this mixture, individual doses of the vaccine are prepared. The vaccine may be supplied in a capillary tube like this and applied directly to the skin from the tube. In this disease, the antibodies dispose of the germs, probably without the help of white cells. The child is safe from smallpox for several years.
Soon, mandatory smallpox vaccination came into effect in Britain and certain parts of the United States in the 1840s and 1850s, leading to the establishment of the smallpox vaccination certificates required for travel.
Thousands queue for vaccination as a small outbreak of smallpox hits Brighton. It's believed to have resulted from the visit of an RAF officer home from abroad, and prompt steps will curb its spread. The first to be treated were those known to have been in direct or indirect contact with the 19 cases already known. Since Jenner, 150 years ago, proved that a simple operation like this could give immunity, smallpox, which used to claim 1 million lives a year in Europe alone, has become almost a rarity.
Another major impact of the smallpox vaccine was the growth of cities. Due to less fear about contracting smallpox, more people began to move into cities, which benefited economics. In 1959, the World Health Organization announced a courageous goal: the eradication of smallpox, even though no human disease had ever been eradicated. Some key components of the eradication of smallpox included universal childhood immunization programs and mass vaccinations. Smallpox vaccinations stopped in 1972, right before smallpox was eradicated. In 1980, the World Health Assembly declared smallpox eradicated, and no cases of naturally occurring smallpox have happened since.
The smallpox vaccine has a very big influence on our world today. The success of the smallpox vaccine helped pave the way for the development of other vaccines. It demonstrated the effectiveness of vaccination, leading to the establishment of immunization programs worldwide. Today, vaccines are the foundation of public health efforts, preventing millions of deaths each year from diseases like influenza and COVID-19. The eradication of smallpox also highlighted the importance of international collaboration in addressing global health threats. It shows that if we all work together, it is possible to eliminate even the deadliest diseases. Without the work of Dr. Edward Jenner, our world would be a lot different.